Hello and welcome to another battle report. This is a 2,500 point match of Warhammer Fantasy, my Empire army versus Anthony from the Sustainable Center's Bretonnians. We rolled up the meeting engagement, we divided the table like so, and then I deployed, then Anthony deployed. Here you can see the long view of the table. That river running through everything is just a regular river, and we didn't use any special rules for the monuments and stuff around the table. Anthony's Paladin with the 1-up rerollable and his Men-at-Arms unit did not roll to come in yet. And my Pistoliers, Steam Tank, Hurricanum, and my level 4 Wizard also did not roll to come in until reserves. So here you can see the left side of Anthony's deployment. He's got his Trebuchet in the far corner, 5 mounted yeomen, his General, the Lord, with heroic killing blow and +3 attacks, and then his BSB has a 1-up rerollable armor save. They're in a unit of Knights of the Realm. The level 4 Damsel is in the 2nd rank. She's Lore of Life. He's got the Knights Errant with the Errantry banner. Here you go. This is a better picture. And then a unit of 12 Questing Knights and some Pegasus Knights. And on the far right side, I don't know if I have a picture of it, his other Trebuchet is deployed in the other corner. My left flank, I have the Demigryphs with the Musician. I have 11 Inner Circle Knights with the Warrior Priest with a 1-up armor save, and he's stubborn. I have 10 Skirmishing Archers. I have 38 Greatswords, 2 characters in the unit. My Archlector has a 4-up armor save and a 4-up ward save, Sword of Antiheroes, and the Potion of Speed. And then my BSB has a 3-up armor save, a 4-up ward save, and the Iron Curse icon, giving that whole unit a 6-up ward save against War Machines. And then I've got 29 Swordsmen. Vanguard moves. He flies his Pegasus Knights over and around. And the Mounted Yeomen, I think, don't move at all. Anthony's army prays, so my Empire go first. I choose to have the Pistoliers come in, and they kind of just move up as far as they can go. The Steam Tank doesn't march, and when things come from reserves, they just kind of like march off the board edge. So we just had it generate steam points off the board edge, and it random moved onto the table, and that's as far as it went. The Demigryphs and the Inner Circle Knights swift reformed and marched backwards. And then the Hurricanum came on, and the Warrior and the Wizard came on. The Wizard joined the Swordsman, and the Hurricanum just kind of sat in the back. For Magic, I got Soul Blight off on the Mounted Yeoman for -1 Strength and Toughness, and Doom and Darkness off on his character block. That'll lower their leadership, and the Lore of Death has a bunch of spells that, or not a bunch of spells, has the signature spell, I should say, is a dice off comparing leadership values, and that causes a bunch of wounds with no armor save. So, that's just a nice combo within that for helping to thin out his characters. The Pistoliers and the Archers kill the Mounted Yeomen entirely. Since we're only Toughness 2, it's a little easy to do. And here's what the board looks like at the beginning of Bretonnia turn 1. Anthony flies the Pegasus Knights up. The Questing Knights move right to the edge of the river. The Errant Knights reform, and the character block, I think, stays pretty much still. His level 2 Damsel moves into the Men-at-Arms block on the left-hand side. Or the Men-at-Arms move up, they march on the table, and then the Damsel joins them. Now here you can see that she uses the prayer icon, and that gives them the same ward save as the rest of the army. He, in Magic, cast Throne of Vines, and I dispelled it, and something else, and really nothing happened in the Magic phase. And he dropped a rock on my Greatswords. I really like having the Iron Curse icon now because they have a 6-up armor save against the Strength 5 Stone Thrower, and then they get a 6-up ward save. So it definitely felt like I picked up probably the Iron Curse icon probably saved four total, and it's a 5-point magic item, and the Greatswords are 11 points each. So it's definitely going to be in my list because it's just too good a deal to pass up. They hold. I don't even think they had to take a leadership check because it wasn't 25% of the unit. So here's what the board looks like at the beginning of Empire turn 2, or maybe this was after movement. Yeah, this looks like it was after movement. I had no charges to declare. The steam tank and the pistoliers moved through the river. Remember that you can't march through a river. You can charge, and you don't take any dangerous checks or anything like that. You're not steadfast. You have no rank bonus, and you have to move through it. You can't march through it. So everyone advances. The greatswords don't really care because they're stubborn anyway. And then the inner circle knights and the demigriffs just kind of angle to face the peg knights. Here's a better picture of that. I probably would have moved the archers up a little, but honestly, they're a pain in the neck to balance on that, and I don't really need him getting charges onto the bridge going over the river. His night buses will fit over that bridge handily, and like nothing I have will fit onto that bridge besides the skirmishing dudes. So I just kind of left them. In my magic phase, I don't believe I was able to get anything good off, and I used the bound spell on the Celestial Hurricanum to drop the small template onto the Peg Knights. On target, you roll a random table. If you roll a 1 on that table, nothing happens, it just rains on them. If you roll a 6, it's like a strength, strength 6 or strength 9 hit. It does D3 wounds under the hole. So I ended up rolling a 1, so nothing. It doesn't do any damage. However, it has the same attribute as the Lore of Heaven, as the Lore of Heavens. So it does D6 strength 4 hits. And I rolled like 5. So toughness 4, Pegasus Knights, armor save, and then 6 up board save. Man, 2 of them were unsaved. That kills a Peg Knight. And then they panic and they run away. So that's nice. Peg Knights are actually pretty durable. I also got the 5 up board save in close combat on my inner circle knights on that warrior priest. So here's what it looks like at the beginning of Bretonnia turn 2. The Peg Knights rally. Anthony doesn't declare any charges. The men-at-arms move up. The Knights Errant and the Knights of the Realm just sort of band together and move up. And the questing knights just sort of, I think they reformed to get more, to be wider and just sort of hold that point on the other side of the river. In the magic phase, he turns his damsel into a hydra using the transformation of Kadan, and miscasts in the process. The miscast he rolls for the damsel is the one where she loses D3 wizard levels, and so she was down to nothing. She's no longer a wizard, but she is still a hydra. His prophetess in the second rank of this unit, casting Throne of Vines, got it off irresistibly. Also rolled that she would lose D3 wizard levels, lost Throne of Vines, Flesh to Stone. I don't know if he had Dwellers or what he had, but all she was left with at the end was a regrowth, and that taps out the rest of the dice and ends the magic phase. So right there, that's a huge deal. Anthony just lost his level 2 and his level 4. Now he's got a level 1 and a level 0, who's a mountain, so who's a black hydra or whatever. But I'll probably dispel that before she gets to do anything with it. But yeah, so right away, I got a huge advantage in the magic phase from both an offensive perspective. He's not going to be able to dispel as much with a level 1, and then on the defense, I don't really have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about dwellers below or any of that stuff. So pretty good, pretty happy with that. However, in the shooting phase, he drops 2 rocks on me, and I pick up a ton of greatswords. I just did not make any saves at all from this, and everything it touches, he's wounding at a 2-up. So that was painful. The greatswords passed their panic check. I reform them and move up. There's no point in going to horde formation when I've been lost that much of my combat ability. So everybody's advancing. The pistoliers get right up in the face of the realm knights. The archers move up. I'm worried about the knights on the bridge. They don't fit on the bridge. As far as I interpreted the rules for that kind of stuff, you could still just move across it. However, the entire unit counts as being in the river, even though only the guys that don't fit on the bridge are in the river. So I couldn't march through it. I just moved up. The demigriffs shuffle all the way to the side of that house so that they're out of line of sight from the Pegasus Knights, and they can sort of they can help out there. The steam tank plows into the men-at-arms, 3 steam points. Yeah. I just kind of feel like it's 250 points to steam tank for 200 and something points of men-at-arms, and the damsel as well. So whatever. And here we go. Here's the demigriffs over here. And in my magic phase, I dispel the transformation of Kadana. And I think what I tried to do was cast like Spirit Leech or something really cheap on my level 4 and failed to get anything off because I rolled like a 1/1/2 and it wasn't enough to get the upgraded, the boosted level of the spell. So my level 4 I was out of commission for the rest of that, and then I dispelled Transformation Econon. I think that was the end of my magic phase. In Anthony's turn, I think this picture might be out of order, but anyway, he drops the trebuchet shot on the swordsman and decimates them, kills 17, almost. I think it's everyone he hits. Yeah, okay. That was the end of my movement. I killed a bunch of men at arms with the charge from the steam tank, but not enough to make a difference. And then this was after Anthony's turn 3. Yeah. So this is the beginning of Empire turn 4. It looks like this. He did not declare any charges. He flew the Peg Knights around and just backs up. This is something Anthony has been doing a lot when he's got me outgunned. I have no war machines. I really don't have a lot of shooting. So he'll just sit there and stall and stall, and in the meantime, he's hammering my units with these trebuchets. So once again, just ride the Pistoliers right up in front of him. I march the archers just right up in front of him, and I bring the knights and everybody else forward. So he can't do anything with his main combat blocks because I got them blocked up with crappy cheapo units, and the rest of my army is sitting there waiting to pounce on him because if he declares a charge, it's movement 8 plus 2d6 or 3d6 swift stride. If he overruns, it's only the 3d6, which will put him right in that middle area between him and my units. So that's really the best I can do to keep him from just guaranteeing to put his guys, into my now depleted combat blocks. The Demiurghs move up. I got it. They were too far for a charge before, but without the Pegasus Knights, threatening to nip me in the flank with them. Okay, I'll take it. Fire the archers. I get Soul Blight off on the Knights of the Realm in the magic phase, so they're -1 strength and toughness. And I fire a bunch of pistol shots and a bunch of archers, and I think I kill like 2 or 3 knights. Nothing big. In close combat, the steam tank grinds a bit, or maybe I did the breath weapon. I think I did the breath weapon because if I grind, it's in the movement phase, and that doesn't make any difference. If I blow the breath weapon, I'll probably, if I do more than, if I do 4 wounds, yeah, I think it's if I do more than 4 wounds with the breath weapon, I'll beat him in combat, assuming he does no wounds to me, and I have a chance for him to run away. I mean, it doesn't really matter if I lose because the steam tank's unbreakable. But if I do the breath weapon in close combat, I can generate combat res. If I do its grinding attacks, its impact hits, it actually is not in close combat. It's in the movement phase. So yeah, and I think I win combat every time. And Anthony just makes all of his leadership checks with these guys. So okay. This is probably the beginning of Bretonnia turn 4. Yeah, Anthony declares a charge with the Pegasus Knights on my archers. They hold. He then charges the Paladin that's not the BSB out of the Realm Knights character block into the Pistoliers. I do a stand and shoot reaction since they all have pistols, and I actually managed to put a wound on him through the 1-up reroll. That's great. I mean, that's, he's only got 2 wounds. He's very, very durable, but this means that I could get lucky with any of my other units and maybe put him down. As far as the archers versus the Pegasus Knights, not great. But I don't really care about, I don't really care about catching the Pegasus Knights or anything like that. They're not that many points. But at least this way, they're in one place. They're locked down. So here's what this looks like. Soul Blight is affecting the Realm Knights unit. Throne of Vines is on the Prophetess, but she is, she has no other spells to cast besides Regrowth. So, yeah. And Anthony's shooting, I guess he lost the Treb. Yes. He does 3 wounds with the Paladin and Horse Kicks. I do no wounds. So that's 3 plus 1 for charging. I'm leadership 10 with the Archlector and within 12 inches of my BSB. So that is 6, and I roll it. So they hold. And then the Peg Knights. See, here's what can be weird about this is like I had we didn't really scrunch up and we didn't really make a big effort to have those guys rank up really well. We just kind of pushed them around. So Anthony has the 2 Peg Knights and I said that he was catty cornered against the far side of the archer unit, so I only attacked with 6 archers. I got like 5 hits, and I got like 4 wounds, and Anthony failed 2 of them. So he lost a Peg Knight. He killed 3 dudes, plus the charge. I'm leadership 10, so I needed like an 8 or something. I know I needed like 7, because he had the charge, plus the wounds, and I hold. So that's really not to be expected. I expect any real combat unit at all to just run through those guys like crazy, just knocking dudes over. But no, okay, that'll make things difficult to maneuver around. But now we got this this ongoing combat. So on my turn, I advance with everybody. I generate 3 steam points. I declare a charge from the demigryphs on his questing knights. Anthony flees that charge. The questing knights bounce all the way through. I redirect with the demigryphs onto the knights errant, and he chooses to hold, and I make that charge. I had declared a charge on, with the inner circle knights on the questing knights. He had chosen to hold to that one, and then he fled in response to demigryphs. I took a leadership test to redirect onto the Pegasus knights, and that was a little wonky. The more I was looking at the pictures afterwards, yeah, here you can see it. I'm not entirely certain that I was able to fit through there with all, because I picked up the movement tray, which doesn't have the whole unit. The unit's got 2 additional models, and I had moved it through, and I was able to just clip the very edge of that Peg Knight. So I don't know. I think that probably should have been a failed charge, but Anthony and I are very permissive about this stuff, because it's always better when you get into combat than to have it be off by like a millimeter and stuff, just for your enjoyment of it. But the more and more I'm thinking about this, unless, I don't know if they would have been able to really fit if I had moved the whole unit and tried to wheel them through there. But yeah, I'll also have to be more careful about that going forward. Anyway, this is what it looks like with all the charges declared and with better lighting than most of the pictures I've been getting. We have the demigryphs in the flank of the knights errant. We have the block of knights and the skirmishing archers in with the Pegasus knights. The great swords and swordsmen are not currently engaged in anything. The paladin is still fighting the pistoliers, and the hurricane has moved up behind everything. In the magic phase, I get the Fate of Bijuna off irresistibly on Anthony's general with my level 4 wizard. It's 2d6 hits minus the target's toughness. I roll like 11 or 10, whatever it was, so it's down to, I think I rolled like an 11, which brings it down to like 8 or whatever. Yeah, no, it's toughness 4, so 7. Yeah, okay, so 7 hits, wounds him on a 2-up, 6 wounds. Anthony's got a 6-up ward save from the Blessing of the Lady, plus magic resistance 2 from the Prophetess, so he's got 6 4-up ward saves to make, fails 3, and the general is killed by the Fate of Bijuna from the Lord Death. I had also gotten off Doom and Darkness on the Knights Errant, so they are -3 to their leadership. This feels really good, because like Death has all these short-range character annihilation spells, and so the whole game I've been stomping my way up the field trying to use them, and so finally I get in range. I use the really high chance of killing a character spell, and it works. That's a load off, but he's got a ton of killing blow attacks. I don't actually want to deal with that guy in combat if I can avoid it. So this feels pretty good. The demigryphs beat the Knights Errant in combat, and with Doom and Darkness affecting their leadership and no general, they break, flee, run all the way through everything, and the demigryphs overrun into the Realm Knights character block. The paladin kills the 2 pistoliers and reforms, and the Peg Knight issues a challenge. I accept with the warrior priest. He does 1 wound to my warrior priest. I do no wounds to him. He loses combat, but he holds. Beginning of Anthony's turn, the questing knights rally, the errant knights rally, the paladin charges into the block of swordsmen. So here you can see, yeah, everybody's rallied, and that's what that looks like. In close combat, I challenge with the swordsman. He kills the swordsman champion. It's a push on the Pegasus Knight and the Warrior Priest challenge. Nothing happens there. And the Demigryphs kill almost all of the Realm Knights unit, but the unit is not steadfast, stubborn, and they hold. The beginning of my turn, I declare a charge on the flank of the Paladin with the Greatswords. I had previously reformed the skirmishing archers to take as many models out of base. I can't take models out of base contact, but I have those extra guys that were dangling on the edge. I had reformed and pulled them back so that I could get the great swords through that area. I didn't take them off their movement trace. It's a big pain in the neck. But so that's what that looks like. Here's a better picture. You can see everything much more clearly. In the magic phase, I get the jacked up version of Soul Blight, which is -1 strength and toughness to all enemy units within 24 inches of the wizard. So Anthony's entire army, basically, at this point, is -1 strength and toughness. We don't. I issue a challenge with the, or Anthony issues a challenge. I forget what it was. With the Paladin, I accept with the Great Swords unit champion. He kills the unit champion, but I have 2 standards, a charge, additional ranks. He breaks, and he's run down by the Great Swords. The Demigryphs kill his. Actually, I don't think they kill. They kill off everybody, all the knights. They don't put any wounds on characters. They put 2 wounds on his prophetess. It's really not a big deal. But the Realm Knights break and are run down by the Demigryphs, who overrun into the flank of the questing knights. Finally, the Pegasus Knight is broken and run down, I believe. The steam tank's just chugging away. In Anthony's, this is turn 6, last turn of the game. Anthony charges the errant knights into the Demigryph. He drops a rock on the Greatswords unit. It hits everyone, wounds everyone. I make my lookout, sirs. I make no armor saves and no ward saves. It kills the entire Greatsword unit. The knights. Yeah, here you can see it better. The knights and the archers had reformed. My 2 characters are kind of left out by their lonesome, and I'm going to be getting like 5 knights worth of attacks on the Demigryphs, and then 2 questing knights worth of attacks. However, I put all my attacks on the questing knights. They've all fled, so they've lost their ward saves. Questing knights have a worse armor save. Kill a bunch of them, break them from combat. The Demigryphs catch the questing knights and run them down, and the errant knights make it away. Final disposition of the board, Empire victory, and yeah, I mean this was such a strange mission. We don't usually play with rivers. Typically, we only use a couple forests, and forests don't restrict your movement anyway. You just got to worry about cavalry moving through for dangerous checks, and infantry blocks are not steadfast. But I was jammed up on the river. Anthony didn't want to. Usually he tries to push his Bretonnians way out and circle around and come into the flank, and couldn't really do that because he couldn't march when passing the river. But yeah. Very fun game. Nice to use some different terrain. I feel like once he had miscast on both wizards, there was really not much to do to stop my magic. And being able to kill his general like that was very satisfying because I have no chance of killing that dude in close combat. Let's just get that right out of the way here. That character block is nasty in close combat. But yeah, good game. Nice to be able to win, and even with tons of artillery picking apart your blocks as you walk across the field. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a victory for Empire, and yeah. Here's one last picture just to see what everything looked like.